Well, a consultant is contacted after the fire department left, and he indicated he'd arrive the next morning to begin a thorough test of all the combustion systems that were left and their interactive components within the building and start a new search for the source. Well, he had been in contact with the gas company and the HVAC company involved, as well as the emergency service coordinator. He had confidence in all of their abilities and efforts of correction, but this was a tricky CO ghost. The consultant was me. I had supplied the low-level CO alarms the day of the incident, though I was out of town when they first called me. I'd been hanging back, observing the developments. I visited the building the following morning after the fire department said, "We don't know." So I was there Thursday at 7 a.m. I measured CO outside, and then I measured inside as I entered, and I measured continuously, as always. When you're walking in the building, a thorough test outside and inside always is mandatory. I also took a differential building pressure measurement with my digital manometer to get a proper comparison of inside pressure reference to outside pressure. This is part of a crucial testing for backdrafting appliance investigations. There were no longer any gas appliances within the conditioned space of the building, though. The heating and cooling units were on the roof, and it was a hot July. No gas heat was needed. It seemed like there was no source for carbon monoxide generation or dispersion. Later, I measured the differential pressure between outside and inside with my exhaust equipment running, like clothes dryers or nail dryers or other exhaust systems running, to try to get a worst-case draft test to see if there was enough pressure leaving the building that could have caused those natural drafting Category 1 water heaters, natural gas water heaters, to reverse because the pressure was too strong going somewhere else. Well, these quick pressure tests would have helped determine if those forces driving air out of the building were impactful enough to have caused the natural drafting water heaters to reverse. Well, since the CO alarms were still going off without gas appliances, obviously there was another source. But I still fulfilled that building performance evaluation. That's vital when we're taking a look at a full scope of a carbon monoxide investigation. Well, in review, the hair salon, the exhaust equipment included a clothes dryer, a nail dryer, several nail dryers, bathroom exhaust. These are all on and exhausting to try to get a worst-case draft test. Gradually, everything that blows out and circulates air are on and doing what they do. Now, that fulfills our building performance test. It helps determine if the forces driving air out of the building were impactful enough to have caused the Category 1 vented gas water heaters to have reversed or backdrafted, resulting in temporary CO generation. Make sure to always wear your personal CO protection on the job and everywhere. And as a bonus, measure draft pressure and exhaust gases of Category 1 appliances and monitor oxygen and CO levels with your combustion analyzer when performing these building differential tests. Well, the only thing left to do now is to check deeper into what might have taken place. There was a pattern of every other Wednesday, starting with illnesses and subsequent 2-week time periods with early morning alarms sounding. Now, there were no alarms in the building before any of this took place, so the inaugural event was the illness, and then every other 2 weeks, the alarms were sounding. So what was happening on every other Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning? I asked Christy, the owner of the hair salon, to check her day minder. Take a look at your calendar, see what might have taken place for you in that building. Well, it was discovered that she had her floors waxed every other Tuesday, and that was a new service that she had taken on with a one-man shop. So I asked her to call the floor buffer business and asked if they used propane or electric floor buffers in their business. They said electric. Shucks, I thought I had it figured out. Well, the next thing, that's more testing. Well, the alarms were doing their job, and the low-level CO monitor indicated there was no CO in the building at all until those Wednesday mornings. We still haven't found the source. So I propose that we do a 14-day data log of the air for carbon monoxide. Well, that just means that we're taking a measurement well, every 20 seconds or so, whatever we set that data logger at, and we do it for a 14-day plus period of time, and we can see if any levels all of a sudden jump in there. I also proposed at the time that we do a breath analysis for carbon monoxide. All the employees, when they entered the building, and then when they left for the day, so how much did they bring with them, and what did they leave with? Well, that made some of them nervous, but we were still going to go ahead with it. Again, it was strictly for carbon monoxide testing. And at the time, I was going to provide my own breath analyzer and data logger for this process. I did it for a drive-in bank facility at one time. It resulted in it really wasn't a CO problem at the bank. Well, now I'd recommend the use of a pulse CO oximeter. It's another non-invasive method for measuring the carboxyhemoglobin, or COHB percent, in the human body to determine the extent of the poisoning. So we scheduled this to begin the following Monday, and this was a Thursday. Okay, so I was planning on getting my instruments calibrated and coming back the following Monday. Well, before I left, the sleuth in me came out a little more. I kept thinking about people getting sick and now how anxious or frightened they may be. So I kept thinking there's something about this. And I asked Christy to call the floor buffing company back and say she forgot what they said about the floor buffer power source. She asked again and they said electric. Well, I left about 10 a.m. that Thursday morning. At about 9:30 that night, Christy called me to tell me that the owner of the floor buffing company had called her and admitted he used a propane floor buffer. Now, this is an unvented combustion system. It's like running a lawnmower or a snowblower inside your house or inside your building. Well, here's what was happening. The building ventilation system was off when the floor buffer guy came in and buffed at midnight for 2 hours on a Tuesday from Wednesday early morning. The exhausted propane-fueled combustion gas filled the space and the man left. Why he wasn't affected? Maybe he was. Maybe he had a lot of headaches. The business space in the building was built tight to conserve energy. It became tight like a jar with a screw lid on top. And Christy arrived early on that first Wednesday, then her employees and a few customers, and they all walked into a business space filled with carbon monoxide, and their bodies reacted. The CO alarms prevented any more injuries when this now foreseeable problem was halted on 2 more occasions. When asked why he didn't admit it when asked 2 times earlier in the day, he replied that he didn't want to lose the account. He even admitted that the smoke alarms were going off. He said smoke alarms. The last 2 times before he left, he didn't see any fires, and all he did was smell the exhaust from his own machine. I just thought the smoke from my machine set him off, so it really wasn't a fire. The newspaper said it was the water heaters that made people sick. From the floor buffer business perspective, this type of LPG or propane-fueled machine is sold and used indoors over North America and still is. If you have a low-level CO monitor like the one I wear on my belt, when you walk into a grocery store or a big box store at certain times of early morning, you may measure carbon monoxide even though the propane buffer or forklift that helped with stocking are gone. Companies and people who use these types of floor buffers or forklifts don't usually measure the air they work in or what they leave behind. Most businesses have not had CO alarms, even the standard high-level ones. So the floor buffer people wouldn't know if it's a problem anyway unless people got sick or if the alarms were sounding off while they were working, providing their service. Well, there's some things we can note about this particular incident. There were no CO alarms in the building. We can learn from that. Get CO alarms. Yes, you get high-level detectors, but get at least one low-level detector. That way you get an early start on the warning. Responders in 2003 were not wearing or carrying personal CO monitors into the building. The hospital had to report back to the field that the CO was the culprit. Now, around the country, more and more fire departments and emergency responders that have started to wear personal CO monitors on 911 calls have found out that measuring carbon monoxide going into an incident could certainly alter the impact of that particular emergency call. Well, now let's be aware that as several people begin experiencing similar poor health symptoms at or around the same time, something's going on. It may be carbon monoxide exposure. This happens. Common symptoms can include headache, sinus and head pressure, constant stuffiness, even dizziness or flu-like sicknesses. Several weeks of worry and several thousands of dollars. Who or what could have helped this situation that we just experienced? What could have happened? Know your sources of carbon monoxide. Know the symptoms of CO poisoning. And if you see a group of people simultaneously getting sick, really start paying attention. None of us may give CO a thought when we get these symptoms unless our carbon monoxide alarm lets us know. Know that the wearing of a personal CO monitor for entry testing by service providers and first responders helps reduce the frequency and impact of CO poisoning. Get those personal CO monitors. Check them outside before entering and again upon entering. Know what's in the air when you start any investigation or when you enter any building. This instant measurement can change a 911 heart attack distress call to a carbon monoxide incident or ventilatory support, monitoring the heart rate, and preparing immediate supplemental oxygen for any victim is the standard therapy. This information called in prepares the hospital, perhaps for hyperbaric chamber therapy. This instant measurement also protects the responder by alerting them to the presence of carbon monoxide if it's in the space. Practice CO safety like you never did before. Well, like I said, now we would use non-invasive pulse CO oximetry in the field for emergency responders. This expedites the diagnosis and therapy for the CO victims. High-level CO alarms in buildings are vital to keep you alive when CO levels get high. Low-level CO monitors are vital to help prevent any illnesses associated with carbon monoxide that you don't want to have to live with. They go off way before the high-level ones. Carbon monoxide safety is a part of life. Let's be careful when we're chasing that carbon monoxide ghost. I'm Bob Dwyer. Carbon monoxide safety is a way of life.